Hello everyone, I'm Freaky and welcome to the video. Let's talk about Helluva Boss. Now, to those of you who don't know what Helluva Boss is, if you're at the age of 18, then go and watch it. If you're not, stay the hell away, no pun intended, from that series. You can find it on YouTube. Okay, to those of you who have watched Helluva Boss, you know what it's about. But to those of you who don't know, again, if you guys haven't seen it, go and watch it. But basically, it's about 3 imps and a hellhound trying to make a living by killing people in the world of the living. But to be honest, even though it does sound simple on how I described it, it's actually more loud than that. Anyways, the characters are Blitz, Luna, Moxie and Millie, and there's loads of other side characters, but I'll get to those later. Now, this video is strictly for people who have seen Helluva Boss, because I'm not going to be doing a hour essay explaining who these characters are and what they do and so on and so on. I'll only give little summaries there and there, and that's it. Because if I was to give every little piece of information about everything, I will be here all day. So, last warning, if you haven't seen Helluva Boss, made by Fizzy Pop, and also Fizzy Pop is also responsible for making the series Hotel Has Been, or she's going to. Anyways, during the time I've made this video, I've seen up to Season 2, Episode 7, Mammon's Magnificent Musical Mid-Season Special, so anything past that won't be mentioned in this video. Okay, now, let's continue. Now, when it comes to Helluva Boss and Hotel Has Been, at first, when I saw this series making its rounds, I could tell that there was some elements in it that made me raise my eyebrows, and those elements was wokeism. Now, to my audience, you guys know how I feel about wokeism, right? You know, the old SJW woke crap. Well, Helluva Boss does have some elements of wokeism in it. That's one of the downfalls of Helluva Boss. And also, there are things in this series that makes no sense, or is contrived. But hey, it's mostly the woke stuff that's in this series that ticks me off. But, saying that, despite Helluva Boss being woke, I actually do like Helluva Boss.
Huh?
Yep, you guys heard me right. I do like Helluva Boss. But that's not to say that I'm going to ignore all the wokeness and all the things that don't make any sense in it. And listen, I'm a simple person that likes simple things, and all I want to do is just say my bit of what I think of the series. And trust me, I have seen the series, and I've also seen my fair share of reviews and rants about the series. And yeah, I can see the problems when it comes to Helluva Boss. I can see the contrived stuff, I can see the things that don't make any sense, etc, etc. But let me get to the good stuff first, because there are quite a few things that are good about the series. The animation's good. I really do miss hand-drawn animations. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, there was a few parts within the pilot that almost made it look Ren and Stimpy-ish in terms of the characters' expressions. And I'm not talking about the stills, but when the animation is moving. But other than that, the animation, especially as the series goes on, just keeps getting better and better, and the tracking shots in episode 6 was really good. So yeah, the animation is top notch. Yeah, it has 1 or 2 problems, but overall, it's great. Now, let's talk about the music. And when it comes to the music, the songs and visuals that goes along with them keeps on getting better and better. Yeah, the first few were okay, and from beginning to now, my favourite songs are the Cotton Candy song, Moxie and Blitz's Phantom of the Opera, I really freaking like that. There was Striker's theme song, and of course, the FU song in Season 2, Episode 7. That song was really, really good. And basically, Fizzarali is giving the finger to Mammon that's been treating him like crap for years. And you know what? I have mad respect for Fizzarali for sticking it to his boss in song form. That was possibly the best song, to me, in my opinion. It was catchy, the animation was nice, and it's possibly one of the best FU songs ever. And when it comes to the story, it isn't one of those series that everything goes back to the way it was sort of series. Because as the series goes on, things do change. Like when Fizzarali becomes friends with Blitz again, or how Stolas's stories change over time, like his relationship with his daughter, his relationship with his ex-wife. Like I said, there are some contrived stuff within the series, and things that don't make any sense, but there is some things in this series that is interesting, like Blitz's past, because as the series progresses, we see what Blitz's past was like how he was responsible for a fire that happened years ago, and how he feels bad about it, and how he lost everything, and how it affects him so many years later. To me, I think Blitz's story, when it revolves around him and his past, I think is really good. Moxie and Millie's story is okay. I wish we had a backstory for Luna. I mean, so far all we know is that she was just adopted by Blitz, and so far that's all we know. And of course there's Stolas. And when it comes to Stolas, I would give his story about, you know, because when it comes to Stolas, I really wanted to sympathise with him, I really did, but Stolas is just a selfish ass, because I've been hearing people say, oh, he's such a good father, oh, he's such a good father, he loves his daughter, he loves his daughter. And yes, I do see that he does love his daughter, I can see it, but at times, he always puts Blitz at the forefront. He always puts his selfish needs and wants before his daughter. Like, here's a few examples. In episode 2 of Season 1, Stolas wants to take his daughter to a place called Lululand so he can spend some time with her, but then he calls up Blitz and he wants him as his bodyguard, and all the time when he's in Lululand, he's always teasing Blitz, and this is a big problem. Number 1, it was shown a few episodes later where we got to meet Stryker. We are shown and told that no ordinary weapons can defeat or kill certain demons like Stolas. It has to be some sort of holy relic or something that can kill him, and I'm like, hold on. Stolas can only be killed by these holy relic thingies, or be defeated by them, like a gun, a knife, and be held down with some magic rope, which is also blessed. Those things can kill him, like those are the only things that can kill him. So why the hell does he need Blitz to bodyguard him if he's practically immortal, and holy relics are the only things that can kill him? And these things are rare. So look at all these imps that's after him actually do to him. In fact, he has this power that can turn anybody into freaking stone. And even when he is being kidnapped by these imps, he looks like he's having a freaking good time about. Oh, Blitzy, come and help me. We learn about this in episode 5 and shown to us in season 2 episode 4 on how powerful these things are. And number 2, Stolas can see that his daughter is in distress. So he thinks to himself, you know what, let's go out, just make it me and you. And he asks the very person that his daughter hates to come along with him, which is Blitz. I mean, we could see before Blitz and Stolas got together that both their parents was just okay. And when I mean okay, I'm talking about okay in her eyes. But after when Stolas and Blitz got together, in terms of being butt buddies, Octavia has this breakdown, seeing everything crumble around her, and her dad, Stolas, brings along the very person who broke apart her family to be their bodyguard. And instead of it just being her and Stolas, he brings on freaking Blitz, and he teases him in front of his freaking daughter. And number 3, he cheats on his freaking wife. Okay, I'll say this. It's clear that his wife doesn't respect him or even care about him, and she was even making fun of him in one of those high-class get-togethers, and where she says, oh, I do everything in bed. He just lays there. And things got way worse after when she found out Stolas slept with Blitz. I mean, here's the thing. If he was so unhappy, he should have got divorced. And yeah, I know for a fact that it happened all of a sudden, and it was one night. But instead of telling Blitz to stop, he wanted Blitz to carry on. So, in a way, yeah, he did cheat on his wife. And there are other things that makes Stolas unlikable, even though he's likable at the same time. Like the time when he was helping Ozzy or Asmodeus with that contract thing in episode 6, season 2, or going nuts trying to find his daughter. So really, it's a half and half when it comes to Stolas. Sometimes you hate him, sometimes you like him. Okay, let me move on to the other things that ticks me off with this series. And when I mean ticked off, I'm talking about things that don't make any sense. Like for example, in episode 6, season 1, when Blitz and his friends was trapped, Stolas came along and helped them. And even Blitz says, how the hell did you know we was here? And Stolas says, oh, I've got my ways. But in episode 2, season 2, Stolas didn't even know where his daughter was. When she took the book from Blitz and she went to the human world, they didn't know where she went. So wait, Stolas knew where Blitz was, and he got to the human world without his book. But when it comes to his daughter, who also had the book, there was panicking, oh, we don't know where she is, where is she, where is she? Gee, Stolas, maybe you could have put surveillance on her, maybe? Or, in episode 3, Blitz and his crew was having a competition with this other company, and Blitz says, okay, I bet we can kill more people than you have sex with them. And for some reason, every single person that they needed to kill was all on this one beach. And not only that, their competition is also on that beach. Talk about contrived and convenient. The fact that nearly every single person that they needed to kill was on that beach. Or here's another one. What about the people that Blitz and his crew killed? Like, wouldn't the people that they killed go to hell and would go after Blitz's clients and Blitz himself, considering that they were the ones who killed them? Wouldn't those guys want revenge? Why hasn't there been a single person who was killed by Blitz want revenge on them? And also, wouldn't those people want revenge on the people who wanted them dead? See? Point taken. Or is another one. Like, throughout this series, we are told that demons and devils or whatever aren't supposed to be seen by humans. And the M&Ms and Blitz doesn't have a human costume. And they are seen by people all the time. I mean, are these people freaking stupid or what? I mean, yeah, I could see it as a gag, but freaking come on. And there's all sorts of inconsistent stuff like that in this series. In fact, loads of YouTubers have pointed out all the inconsistent stuff within the series, so if you guys want to go and check them out, please do. So, let's move on to the next thing. And before I carry on, there's just one other thing I want to say. I actually do love the lore of helluva Boss, in terms of who the characters are. Okay, let me explain. Who here remembers the Disney cartoon and movie, Hercules, back in the early 2000s? Now, when it comes to this series, this is one of the few series that introduced mythologies. You know, the Greek gods, like Zeus, Hades, Hercules, basically the Greek pantheons. And when it comes to helluva Boss also uses mythologies, demons, angelic characters from Christianity and Judaism. They use the things that's in Christianity and Judaism within helluva Boss, like Mammon, Asmodeus, Lucifer, and so on and so on and so on. This show is using those figures from history in this show. And listen, I will say this, Disney using the mythology of Hercules was bad, but at the very least, it introduced people to Hercules. I mean, I was introduced to Hercules in another way before Hercules, and Helluva Boss and Has Been Hotel is a sort of introduction to biblical figures. And you know what? I like it. I do like the idea. The fact that we get to see biblical figures within the show. Mammon and Asmodeus, they were great. But I think Beelzebub, the sinner of gluttony, I thought her design was, well, I thought it was just okay. For me, her design didn't stand out very much, especially when she was in her ultimate form. And you know what? I want to see more biblical stuff within the show. I want to see Leviathan. I want to see the other sinners, you know, the princes. I want to see them use ancient artifacts. I want to see other biblical stuff in this show. Okay, now that I've got that out of the way, let's continue. Now, in this video, I've been saying stuff like, oh, certain things don't make any sense, and how certain characters are awful, and all that biblical stuff, and so on and so on. You guys can find that sort of stuff on YouTube, done by other people, about what's good or bad. And I also say that I really do like the series, despite its flaws, and things that don't make any sense. There's characters I like, there's episodes I like, there's songs I like. Helluva Boss isn't perfect, but I do like it. But let's get to the main reason as to why I made this video. And that thing is the woke stuff that's in this series. And before anybody says anything like, oh, is it because that the characters are gay and you don't like gay people? No, that's not the case. I've got no problem with gay characters, and I have heard that Helluva Boss and Hotel Has Been was supposed to give representation of gay people in the series, which I don't care, that's not my issue. You do know you can be gay without being woke, right? But I do hate the LGBT mafia. I really do not like those guys. You know, those mentally unwell, insecure, unloved people who had a bad experience with their Christian parents, and now they're taking it out on the world, and they're trying to force people to accept them. You know, the Queers for Palestine people. You know, the left-wing gays. Those are the sort of gays that I do not like, the left-wingers. Again, the LGBT mafia. So I'm not homophobic, I just don't like the left-wingers. Anyways, let's go on. I have no problem with gay characters, but instead it's the other stuff in the series that really ticks me off when it comes to wokeness. Like a few scenes in there, there's a lot of buzzwords, you know, what left-wingers like to say. And you have this high society, low society sort of thing going on, because the left hates the rich. You know, those sort of things. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be pointing out all the woke stuff in this series and tell you why it's woke. So without further ado, let's go. Oh, and also, one more thing. If any more episodes of Helluva Boss have came out, and those episodes isn't on this list, that just means that this video is old, and I'll make a part 2, pointing out all the woke stuff. And so, let's go. And in the pilot, the first buzzword is when Blitz calls Stolas a privileged arsehole. So the buzzword is privileged. And yeah, I have heard this word a lot when it comes to the left, because they're always saying, oh, check your privilege, check your privilege. And the left hates the rich. So that's the first buzzword. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. And in episode 1, you have a female sinner saying, oh, I was sent down here with all the Hitlers and the Weinsteins. That's also another buzzword that the left loves to use. Either Hitler or the Yazis. And another thing that the left hates is the family unit. You know, you have like the mom, the dad, the grandparents, the kids. The left absolutely despises the family unit. And another thing they hate is rednecks. That's why they made the family have this sort of like southern accent or something. So yeah, you got 2 in 1 in there. I mean, they make the family unit all nice and happy and all that stuff, but in actuality, they're redneck monsters. And you know what? I can even see some Texas Chainsaw Massacre references in this episode. Okay, now let's move on to the next episode. And in the next one, it's when the gang goes to this theme park called Lululand. And Lululand is a ripoff of Lucifer's more popular theme park, Lulu World. And basically, Stolas' daughter says, this place reeks of corporate shame. And we all know how the left hates corporations. Although, to be fair, Lululand does look crappy. I mean, yeah, that's only a small thing, but I just thought I might mention it anyways. Okay, now let's move on to episode 3. And this happens at the end of the episode. And basically, Blitz's ex gets arrested. And she says, okay, sluts, get ready to suck a lot of pig dick. And yeah, I know everybody calls cops pigs, but the left absolutely despises the cops, because the cops do the job of taking down criminals. And yeah, I know for a fact these last 2 wasn't that much of a big deal, but episode 4 does give us a few more, so let's get on to number 4. Now, when it comes to number 4, when one of the humans was about to off himself, and these angel things was trying to stop him, Moxie comes in and says, sir, maybe you should consider committing die. I'm like, hold on, commit die? And I know why they said this, and not commit S, is because it's on YouTube. And you know what? That breaks the immersion. The only reason he said commit die is because the people who made this series knew they wasn't allowed to say certain things on YouTube. And again, that breaks the immersion of the episode. There's also something else in this episode that they don't say, but I'll get to that later. And at 8:50, we get to the part where Moxie says, oh, we want this selfish, greedy, authoritarian, capitalist to keel over dead. And yeah, I know Bliss says, okay, you're making this too real, considering what's been happening for a few years. I mean, Moxie says everything that the left hates in those few seconds. And another thing they say is how the rich exploit the poor, which is also another talking point from the left. I mean, some do and some don't, but when it comes to this talking point, the left likes to bark about this sort of stuff, then they like to actually do things to stop the exploitation of the poor, like what Coca-Cola does in African countries or something. So yeah, I'm half and half with this. The left likes to bitch and complain about, oh, how the rich likes to exploit the poor, but they do nothing about it. Okay, now let's go on to the next episode. Now, when it comes to the next one, we seen Moxie's dad saying stuff like, oh, nothing like a good war to build a real man. And when it comes to this way of thinking, the left absolutely hates masculine men. And again, we have characters that have a southern accent, and they try to get through saying that, oh, we're all big and strong. But when it comes to Moxie, you could say that Moxie is a representation of what a left-wing man is. He's scrawny, weaker than his wife, and he's not as strong as Moxie's dad, or Moxie's sister-in-law, or the siblings, or Millie herself, or stronger than Stryker. And Millie's parents aren't impressed with Moxie, but at the end, Moxie does his big speech about, he isn't a strong dickhead, but Millie has the strength for both of us. And for some reason, Millie's father gives him the nod, indicating that he approves of him. I mean, for what? Stryker took on 2 guys. Moxie needed help, and I know what they're doing here. They're just trying to have this contrived bullcrap about how Millie's parents accept him now. This is the equivalency of what a left-wing man dream is, of conservative parents accepting the left-wing man, and it was done poorly. And when it comes to the other things in this episode, Stryker is a supremacist. He sees himself and his kind better than the royals and any other species, not to mention he's a cowboy. So you could say that this is a take on the old, my race is better than any other race, and he has a dislike for the royals too. And when it comes to Stryker, he's a cowboy, and I think Stryker might be a take on the leftist boogeyman of so-called white supremacy. So yeah, that's something to think about. Let's move on to the next thing. Now, when it comes to episode 7, there really isn't anything that you could consider left-wing other than the character of Asmodeus. Because when it comes to this character, from all this time that we see him in the series so far, he is one of the most likable characters. His design is cool. I mean, heck, I like him. And the reason why Asmodeus is left-wing is because Asmodeus is the king of lust. And if you know what the left is like, all they care about is sex, 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 and more sex. The left believes in you can make love to anybody, to whoever and wherever you want to. You know, the love movement. And this is mostly coming from the LGBTQ movement. Oh, and also, Asmodeus is gay. But I'll get to that when I get to that. But it is a focus that Asmodeus is gay. But that's not the reason why Asmodeus is left-wing. It's something else, which includes, oh, it's part of the love movement. But again, I'll get to that later. And so, let's move on to the next thing. Now, when it comes to episode 8, we see Luna calling somebody a bitch at a party, and somebody says, oh, you're not allowed to say that. And the reason why this is left wing is because there are certain things that you're not allowed to say, or if you say something that the left doesn't like, they'll say, oh, that's offensive, or you're not allowed to say that anymore, or oh, we prefer being called so and so instead, you know, that sort of stuff. And another thing when it comes to this episode that makes it left wing is the character of Beelzebub. Now, when it comes to Beelzebub in the Christian Judaism Arabic culture, Beelzebub is the representation of gluttony, you know, overindulgence. Now, when you think of Beelzebub and you think of gluttony and you think of the god of gluttony, you would expect a morbidly obese, fat, greedy looking monster that just eats and eats and eats and eats. But Beelzebub in helluva Boss is actually a skinny, overjoyed party girl that likes to eat and eat and eat and gets other people to eat and eat and eat, and she's nice to everybody. And the reason why she's left wing is because this is how the left sees themselves. They don't see overindulgence or gluttony as a bad thing. They think they can just eat and eat and eat without people fat shaming them, and if you continue to eat and eat, you'll be fine. I mean, I find this interpretation of Beelzebub very, very strange. Like, yeah, I can see that she's a party girl, and again, for some strange reason, she's also like Asmodeus. Like, she's the likable king of gluttony. So we have Asmodeus, that is, which is the king of lust that the left loves. There's gluttony, where people can eat and eat as much as they want. And this is what the left doesn't see wrong. They think that lust and overindulgence is a good thing. I mean, yeah, if you're not afraid of getting sexually transmitted diseases and ruining your body and making you undesirable, or getting so fat that it gives you an heart attack or gives you cancer or something like that. When it comes to gluttony, see what I mean? They made these two look like likable characters. But again, these two will come into play later on, because there's another sin I'm going to talk about. But until then, let's move on to the next thing. And in episode 9, we have Stolas's father looking down on the poor. Now, when it comes to this, Stolas looks down on the poor and he says stuff like, oh, is there a place where I don't have to sit next to the poor and smell them? Or something like that. Or there was just one part where Stolas' father goes up to Blitz's dad and he says that he would buy his son. Think about that. He would buy his son. So you guys basically know what I'm trying to say. He's powerful, he's rich, and he thinks he can buy anything. Basically, the left hates the rich. Or should I say, the left is jealous of the rich. And that's why Blitz's dad told Blitz to go and steal from the Goetians. And there are lots of people out there who thinks this is a good idea, that everybody should steal from the rich. Yeah, there's people out there who actually thinks it's okay to steal from the rich. You know that old thing about, oh, let's eat the rich. That's what the left does. Eat the rich, eat the rich. Okay, in this case they're not doing that, but they are stealing from the rich. Okay, now with that said, let's move on to the next one. And now we're going to go on to episode 11, simply because number 10 doesn't really have anything that's considered woke, so 11 it is. And if you guys think I've missed anything in episode 10, please let me know in the comment sections below. Okay, now let's go. In episode 11, Moxie's dad wants him to get married to one of his minions because he thinks he's rich. And Moxie's dad goes to the extreme and puts dildos all over the house. And he says, I went to the trouble of doing something for people of your kind, or something. Now the thing is, Moxie is bisexual, and Moxie's dad is ignorant of the whole thing. And Moxie says, Dad, I'm bisexual. And he goes, yeah, gay. I mean, it's either that he doesn't care, or he's just ignorant about it. So as you can see, Moxie's dad is very ignorant. Now, some people might say, this isn't being woke, but instead it's actually showing how some people are ignorant when it comes to other people being homophobic. But on the other hand, this series was made by woke people, so yeah. And so, let's make way to the next one. And it's episode 12. And it's this one line where Blitz was about to call somebody a retard. And he goes something like this. The shots you really can't say that word now. And the reason why I have a problem with this is because, number one, he can't say it because it might get the creators cancelled. And number two, why does Blitz even care if he even says that word or not? They're in freaking hell. Like, who's going to cancel him? So anyways, and number two, we have the class system again. Because when it comes to the woman and her kid, she was disrespecting Blitz, calling him a fire toad. And when it comes to helluva boss, imps and hellhounds are at the bottom of the barrel. So yeah, there is a class system. They look down on Blitz because he's an imp. Okay, now let's move on to the next episode. And it's episode 13. Now, I know for a fact this one's going to get me in trouble, but I know for a fact that this is the trans episode, where Moxie and Millie pretends to be the opposite gender, and that's just basically it. It's the trans episode. I mean, come on, the left loves trans people. Okay, now let's move on to episode 14. I mean, Moxie's a boy and Millie is a girl. So why didn't Moxie play the boy and Millie play the girl? Come on, because you know, trans. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. And in episode 14, we see Blitz calling Stryker a supremacist. Because again, Stryker sees himself superior to other races. Again, there's that link between white supremacy and Stryker's supremacy, you know. So yeah, basically, Stryker's a supremacist. Okay, now let's move on to the final episode. Episode 15. Now, this episode has a lot of things in it that makes it woke. So, here we go. Okay, number one. Now, you guys remember Osmodeus, which is from Lust, and Beelzebub, the sinner of gluttony. Now, those two characters were seen as likable characters. But when it comes to the sinner of greed, which is Mammon, Mammon comes across as a very greedy, narcissistic, evil character, and his only interest is in money, and he exploits Fizzarali, and he also capitalizes on Fizzarali's fame, and he also sells dolls in the likeness of Fizzarali. And also, at the beginning of the episode, he says something along the lines of, oh, women aren't funny. And again, this is another talking point from the left, that evil capitalist white straight males don't think women are funny, which isn't true. There's Mrs. Doyle from Father Ted, there's Catherine Tate, there's the Vicar Ghibli. Women can be funny, just not left-wing funny, that talks about the vagina. And also, one other thing, why does Mammon have an Australian accent? That does not make a lick of freaking sense. I think I know why. I think it's because of the Australian news. Because Sky Australian BBC News always comes out and tells the truth, unlike our Western media. And also, just one other thing, if helluva boss is based off of Judeo-Christian religions, then why does Mammon have the dollar sign on him? I mean, you would have thought he would have had other money signs with him. Anyways, Mammon is something that the left hates, and it's the fact that he has money. Mammon is a capitalist. I mean, sure, lust and gluttony, those are all fine, but being a greedy capitalist, that's wrong. So yeah, that's all I gotta say here. Just let me know if you guys saw any other signs that this series is woke. I'm gonna say this, I absolutely despise wokeness. I'm sick and tired of their buzzwords, I'm sick and tired of their ideals, I'm sick and tired of them painting people with common sense as bad people. The thing is, I do like helluva boss, Yeah, sure it has its problems. Sure there are things that don't make any sense. Sure there are things that contradict itself. Helluva Boss does have some great potential of being good, but it's the WoG parts that really ticks me off, which is why I made this video. It's the colour of the WoG bullcrap. So yeah, that's all I gotta say here, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. So what do you guys think? Am I right or am I wrong? Did you guys notice any WoG stuff in this series? Please let me know in the comments below, and let's get a discussion going. I'm Freaky. Peace out. And please don't forget to check out my other social medias. Please go and check out my alternative video platforms, Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Twitch, and please come and hang out on my Discord server. We can play games, have a movie night or a series night, or you can watch me play a few games. And if you guys have any suggestions of any videos you want me to react to, or any video ideas in general, you can tell me on my Discord. I'm also on Twitter, Gab, Getter, and Paula. I'm on Locals, Tumblr, Minds, and if you guys want to support me, please go and check out my Subscribe Star. It's like Patreon but better. All these things are in the description box below, so please go and check them out and subscribe to them. I'm Geek Freak. Peace out.